Hi, it's Anthony from OQplay.com, and today we're checking out a face interface with fan from Hibloks. This is a battery powered fan for the Quest 2 in that it helps to increase airflow through your facial interface and just generally reduce fogging if that's a thing that you suffer with in your Quest 2. It says it's skin friendly. It's got two settings of controlling of the airflow, and it's got continuous cooling as well. It does come with a facial interface that it connects into, which we've seen quite a lot recently, and let's see what's inside the box. All right, so we've got a fabric covered facial interface with quite a bit of a ridge to the outside of it. You're not really going to be touching that hopefully with your face, but that's my first main concern. There's a little intake holes there which the actual fan connects onto, but everything's all attached, and that is your facial interface. We'll come back to that in a minute. We've got the main meat and veg of the product, which is basically the airflow fan. This basically sits on top of your Quest 2, and air will either suck or blow out of these pieces here. We've got a USB-C to C charging cable to charge the actual device as well. And we've got a small paper manual that tells you everything you need to know to operate the fan and also how to install it. So quickly looking over the facial interface, it has some rigidity to it there, but it's got a good level of foam padding. It springs back. It's a bit fabric based rather than PU leather or just generally silicone, for example. So that will get quite sweaty. Luckily it's Velcro, so you can take this thing off and wash it should you need to. But being foam, it's going to take a little while to dry out, for example. There's no light bleed or anything like that. It's all about airflow, this is. So unfortunately there's no light blockers around your nose, but it generally feels quite good. It's quite a foam padding, which should support you. And I think you should definitely not feel that ridge that's on the edge of the facial interface. Looking over the actual fan itself, it's quite low profile, which is nice to see. USB charging port on the top there, a 2 setting of airflow and off switch, and then there's like a air intake all around the outside to suck all the air in, I'm assuming, because that basically means it's going to blow air out. So let's just see if it's powered. It is. So it's got charge already. That is blowing air in, so it's going to blow air into the actual interface area and make it a little bit cooler then, and hopefully less build-up of fog. So that's setting number 1. Setting 1. Now setting 2. Not much between them, to be honest. That might be down to the battery. So let's get this fitted onto our Quest and see how well it will work. So first things first, we need to take off the facial interface and replace it with their own. As I told you, there's no nose flap for light leakage. This is the VR cover. I'd say this is a lot more pliable, a little bit more softer, so it's a bit more fitting to the face, which is still reason why it's my favorite facial interface. So this should hopefully clip on. So it clips on pretty well like that. Doesn't clip on so well on the top. I'd say it's not a very good fit up top. Let's take the bottom out and then put the top in. Okay, that's a bit better, and that's a bit better. So top in first and then put the bottom in. As you can see, that now has the air intakes sitting over the top there. And then now we take the main piece, and then that just basically sits on top but also clips in, not that well, doesn't audibly sort of sound like it's clipped in. So that is now sitting on the facial interface. It looks like he's wearing a hat, but that is the fan that's attached to the facial interface. You can see here there's a bit of a air gap between the bottoms, so that's allowing air to flow in from the bottom as well as from the sides, so we can get good airflow, clean air into the facial interface itself. And that's pretty much it. So you can power it from the Quest 2 maybe. So I'm going to power it from the head strap battery. There's a little red light there at the top, which to let you know that it's charging. So that's good. Unfortunately, with the right angle of the, well, you can't really access the switch. So perhaps that should have been a little bit closer to the power port, perhaps, rather than having it further away. Maybe these two should have been switched over, to be honest. Anyway, so that's powering it. I'm going to put it on and then I'm going to see if I can hear everything. All right, so we're on, we're connected. Fan doesn't look too ridiculous, does it? Still looks like it's wearing a hat. So I'm going to start off the fan. So this is number 1, and it's definitely obviously more audible than not having a fan at all. I can definitely feel the airflow down and over my eyes. They do say in their manual that you're going to get sort of dry eyes initially for the first hour whilst your eyes sort of compensate for it. Imagine you're outdoors and you're getting lots of wind in your eyes. They start to water a little bit, or you might get dry eye in the summer. That's something very similar to this, but you will get used to it eventually, and it won't be a constant thing, I don't think. But you've got definitely lots of light coming in from the bottom. If you're not a fan of that, then this isn't a facial interface or an air solution for you. But if you do suffer with fogging, then this is probably something that you might want to look into, and having no air nose piece is going to help with the airflow generally anyway. You can hear it get a bit more powerful. It's not number 2 yet, so let's switch it to number 2. I'm not really seeing much difference between 1 and 2. Let's just find in the manual. So it says in the manual that it's got setting 1 is circulating wind. The wind speed circulates between high and low for continuous cooling. So it will vary its setting as you play. So if it feels like it's not really, doesn't need to be as powerful, it will step down and the fans will go a bit cooler. So I don't know if there's a heat sensor or something in here. And then setting 2 is high. Basically it's high wind speed for continuous cooling. So the first setting, number 1, is a little bit like automatic, and it's not like continuously always going for it. So let's just set it down to 1 again. Well, let's go from off to setting 1. So it says on setting 1, because it's variable in terms of speed, you get 3 hours and 30 minutes on the battery. And then setting 2, where it's constantly going, you'll get 2 hours, 40 minutes. So just over an hour, and it has slowed down now. It's not so audible, but it is there. And the reduction of airflow is obviously less as well. So I think that step 1 is actually quite a nice feature. But its internal battery has 700 milliamp hours, which is giving you that battery life. And the battery life is about 1,000 charges or recharges. And its charging time takes around about 70 minutes to go from 0 to 100%. So I'd say if you're intensely wearing this headset in things like fitness, then this is probably going to be required to have it on its highest setting. If you're getting lots of audio, you're not really going to hear that fan noise. I don't think that fan noise is that really intrusive. It's quite a low sound. I think that's helped with its volume as well, but it sounds okay. I don't really suffer with fogging as such anyway, but if you are watching like silent movies or very quiet audio type of movies, then this actually might become quite loud and be a bit immersive breaking if you're watching films with it on. They do recommend that you have it on the lowest setting for things like that, so make sure you have it running on that setting if you're watching films and things like that. But for very intense gaming with lots of loud noise, I don't think you're really going to hear the fan over the audio too much. There is a constant flow of air though, so you do get kind of like a cold head. I don't know what implications of that over long term will be if you were to get any headaches from that, but you could just literally turn it off. I'll try and mist up my lenses and see how quickly the fogging takes to disperse. Right, so we're all fogged up. We'll whack it on high and it's already dissipating it, and I'd say it's gone. So very quickly it will dissipate any sort of fogging of the lenses quite quickly. So if you are in a game you really want to get rid of it quickly, can whack it on high setting and it will get rid of it. So that's quite cool, which means you don't actually have the airflow going through that headset all the time, and that will save on battery life as well. I'll blur it again and I'll put it on its first setting, see how quickly it does it then. Right, we're all fogged up. Do setting 1. Halfway clear. And it's gone. So again, even at its lowest setting, it does disperse it pretty well and quite quickly as well. So happy with that. So overall, I think it's a pretty good accessory if you're worried about fogging in the lenses, something that happens very often. You want an active solution rather than just taking it off or wiping down the lenses afterwards. It's quite discreet. It sits on the headset not too badly, and it's got a nice wide area, so it's going to have more airflow coming through it, and it's going to make it probably sound a little bit quieter as well than some others, because I have heard some others, they are a lot louder than this. So this does a decent job. Battery life is not too bad. You could also run it off the Quest 2 power if you need to, but if you've got a battery strap, you could just take off the connector and just passively connect it whilst you're using it for now, if you're not going to drain the Quest battery too much, if it's got a full charge. And overall, not a bad solution. So it retails for $28.99. Quite an expensive solution if you're thinking about versus just wiping it down. But I think this is something that you want to look into if you do suffer with it quite often. The facial interface is not too bad. The foam in it is quite dense, so it does give you some support and it's not too bad long term. There is currently 10% off coupon as well. In the UK, it retails for £26.34. And there's also a 10% voucher as well that you can knock off its full retail price, and you can get it slightly cheaper as well. Overall, not a bad solution if you suffer with fogging. Otherwise, if you don't, I think you could do away with it, and it's not really a necessary accessory for the Quest 2. All right, I hope you found this video helpful. If it has, leave us a like down below and let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this fan and facial interface for the Quest 2 from Hibloks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.